Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Once you label me, you negate me. Prayer does not change God, but it changes him who prays. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations: one can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. The tyrant dies and his rule is over, the martyr dies and his rule begins. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. God creates out of nothing. Wonderful, you say. Yes, to be sure, but he does what is still more wonderful: he makes saints out of sinners. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. Listen to the cry of a woman in labor at the hour of giving birth. Look at the dying man's struggle at his last extremity, and then tell me whether something that begins and ends thus could be intended for enjoyment. Most men pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that they hurry past it. Faith is the highest passion in a human being. Many in every generation may not come that far, but none comes further. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. A man who is a physical being is always turned toward the outside, thinking that his happiness lies outside him, finally turns inward and discovers that the source is within him. The truth is a snare. You cannot have it without being caught. You cannot have the truth in such a way that you catch it, but only in such a way that it catches you. Old age realizes the dreams of youth. Look at Dean Swift. In his youth he built an asylum for the insane. In his old age he was himself an inmate. During the first period of a man's life, the greatest danger is not to take the risk. Personality is only ripe when a man has made the truth his own. It seems essential, in relationships and all tasks, that we concentrate only on what is most significant and important. Love does not alter the beloved, it alters itself. The more a man can forget, the greater the number of metamorphoses which his life can undergo. The more he can remember, the more divine his life becomes. It is so hard to believe because it is so hard to obey. Life has its own hidden forces which you can only discover by living.